Hey there! A while ago I did a video on some interesting inks I'd recently discovered, and people were very enthusiastic about that, so today I'd like to show you again some new inks that I got. And these are four inks, three of which are actually by Diamine. So, and actually three of them are also on the brown reddish end of the spectrum. So I hope this is not completely boring. I'll give you a very brief introduction of the inks, and then I'll show you the writing samples, which is of course a lot more informative with this topic. So, first of all, this one was recommended to me by at least two people. Diamine Ox Blood. You can't read it anyway, but it's there, Ox Blood. Now, this ink is a bit scary, because it really looks like dry blood, which makes me wonder what's actually in there. But in any case, I really love this one. It's neither fully red nor fully brown. It's like dried blood. It's really fascinating. Not that I see an awful lot of dried blood, but I was surprised. I thought it would be, you know, maybe a bit bland or just very brown, but it's not. It's a very unique color. Highly recommended. Then I got Diamine Syrah. Now I can show you these bottles, but all of these Diamine bottles look exactly the same, so it's completely useless, but just for fun I will go on. Syrah. Syrah is a deeply saturated red, but it's not really, I mean, it's not red like this. It is more red like rouge red. It reminded me a little bit of, I think Gerber makes a color called Rouge Bourgogne. I think that's the one I have in mind. It's more of a rouge kind of color, but it's nice. So don't expect a fiery bright red. It's not that. It's more subtle than that, but it is nicely shaded. It gives a very nice shade to it. I like this one. This is a good one. Then we have Rustic Brown, another Diamine ink. I got that because I thought the name was intriguing. Rustic Brown. That sounds like, well, I don't know what it sounds like, but it sounds interesting. Here we have a reddish brown. You can actually see that a bit on the ink that's on the inside of the cap. It's not a dark brown. It's slightly reddish, but I like it. This is a very well shaded brown, which I like a lot. So that's an interesting one. And finally, Private Reserve, Shoreline Gold. I already knew this one. Someone gave me an ink sample of that, and when I first tried it out, I thought, not too sure about this one. But then I put it in another pen recently, and I thought, whoa, what's that? So this is one that you may have to experiment a little bit. Is that a grammatical sentence? Well, you have to experiment a little bit with this one, and I think you'll find that in some pens it works pretty well. Also, this reminded me somewhat of Noodler's Apache Sunset. Again, here you have a nice orange, yellowish, brownish, well-shaded ink. So, if you can't get Apache Sunset, maybe get this one. Right, enough talk. Writing samples. So, I'll see you later. Bye-bye. Okay. Here we go with some interesting inks. Now, I'm not going to show you all these Diamine bottles again, because they all look exactly the same. I'll just tell you which ink I'm using here. So I start with Diamine Ox Blood. Now, I really love this ink. It is neither fully brown nor fully red, something in between, dried blood. And that's the only way to explain this, or to describe it, I mean. At the end of the video, I will upload some stills of the writing so that you can compare the inks at your leisure. The pen here is a Conway Stewart Model 100 Yellow Swirl. Lazy Dog. Very, very fascinating ink. It is fairly nicely shaded, but what I really like about this is this weird color. Again, dried blood. I'm not a maniac or anything like that, but you know, I really think this is a fascinating ink. Okay, then we move on to another Diamine color, which may look a bit like it, but believe me, it's a different color. This is Rustic Brown. Currently in a Mont Blanc 220 vintage pen with an oblique broad nib. What I like about this ink is that it is a brown, and I've seen other browns a bit like this, but what I really like here is the shading. Try to focus on that as I do the writing, and you'll probably find that it's a very, very well shaded ink. Very nice. Really gives some fascinating shades. I really like it. Then the final Diamine ink in this overview, which is again a reddish color, Diamine Syrah. This is a fascinating one. It's a very deep reddish color, maybe a bit towards rouge, some nice shading. Currently in a what's called the platinum music pen. Nice. A deep red. Now actually, maybe not so much a red. I'd really call this a rouge. That's the color. But fascinating. And again, some nice shading. You can, now that the Rustic Brown has dried, you can see it a bit better, I think. Nice shading there, and this one too is well shaded. I think Hoosier makes a color called Rouge Bourgogne, which is a bit like this. But I like it. Okay, finally, what I'd like to show you. In another vintage Mont Blanc, I haven't reviewed this one yet, the review will be up soon. This is the Mont Blanc 22. So this is the 220, this is just 22. This one too has an oblique broad nib, and currently it is inked up with Private Reserve, Shoreline Gold. Another fascinating color. I think this one is fairly close to Noodler's Apache Sunset. So if you are unable to get this one, you may be able to find Noodler's Apache Sunset, or the other way around. I wouldn't go so far as to say that these inks are interchangeable, which I think they're not, but both are well shaded, orange-ish colors. So, you know, maybe you can fiddle around a bit. If you can't find one ink, maybe you can find the other. Okay, so that was that. I will upload a still shot of the writing at the end of the video, and that's it. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.